Roman Holiday. A story for English learners. Part 1, The Princess Who Wanted to Be Free. Chapter 1, A Very Tired Princess. Princess Anne was tired. She was only 18 years old, but she felt much older. For her whole life, people had told her what to do, what to wear, what to say, and even what to think. Now she was on a tour of Europe. She visited one beautiful city after another. Rome was the last city on the tour, and she was very, very tired. Tonight there was a big party at the palace. Anne stood in a long line of important people. She smiled and smiled and smiled. Her face hurt from smiling. She wore a beautiful white dress and a diamond crown on her head. She looked like a princess from a fairy tale, but inside she did not feel like a princess at all. She felt like a bird in a beautiful golden cage. "Your Royal Highness," a woman whispered, "the dancing teacher is here. You must practice the waltz now." Anne wanted to scream, she wanted to run, she wanted to eat ice cream on the street like a normal person, but she only smiled and said, "Of course." Later that night, Anne sat alone in her huge bedroom. The room was bigger than most houses. It had beautiful old paintings on the walls and thick carpets on the floor, but to Anne it felt like a prison. Her doctor came to see her. He had a small needle in his hand. "Your Highness, you need to sleep. This medicine will help you." Anne looked out the window. She could see the lights of Rome. She could hear music and laughter from the streets below. Normal people were having fun. Normal people were free. "I dream," she said quietly, "of sleeping without a schedule, of walking into a shop and buying shoes that I choose myself." The doctor did not know what to say. This was not how a princess should talk. He gave her the medicine and left. Anne got into her big, soft bed. The medicine made her feel strange. Her head felt heavy, but her heart felt light. She had an idea, a crazy, wonderful, impossible idea. She waited until the palace was quiet. Then she got out of bed. She put on a simple robe and soft slippers. She opened the window and looked down. It was a long way to the ground, but there were vines on the wall. She could climb down. A few minutes later, Princess Anne of the Kingdom was standing on a street in Rome. She was alone. No guards, no servants, no schedule. She was free. She started to run. The cold stone felt strange under her feet. The night air smelled of coffee and cars and flowers. She laughed out loud. It was the first time in her life that she had laughed like that. But the medicine was strong. Soon she felt very sleepy. She found a stone bench and sat down. Then she lay down, and in 2 minutes she was fast asleep. Chapter 2, A Very Surprised Reporter. Joe Bradley was an American journalist. He lived in Rome and wrote stories for an American newspaper. He was 30 years old, not very rich but not very poor either. He had one problem tonight. He had lost all his money playing cards. He walked home slowly through the dark streets. He was thinking about his boss, Mr. Hennessy. Mr. Hennessy was a big, angry man who smoked cigars all day. He was going to be very angry when he learned that Joe had lost so much money. Joe turned a corner and almost fell over a pair of feet. A young woman was sleeping on a stone bench. She wore a beautiful silk robe and pretty slippers. Her dark hair was a mess. She looked like a princess from a fairy tale, but of course that was impossible. "Hey, miss," Joe said. He touched her arm. "You can't sleep here, wake up." The woman opened her eyes. They were big and brown and beautiful. She looked at him but did not seem to understand. "The Colosseum," she said in a strange voice. "Take me to the Colosseum, immediately." Joe laughed. "The Colosseum is closed, miss. Where do you live?" She closed her eyes again. "The Colosseum," she repeated. Then she started to snore softly. Joe looked at her. He looked at the empty street. He could not leave her here. Bad things could happen to a young woman alone in Rome at night. He helped her stand up. She was very heavy when she was sleeping. He put her in a taxi and gave the driver his own address. 20 minutes later, Joe carried the strange woman into his small apartment. His apartment was very different from the palace. It was small and messy. There were clothes on the floor and dirty dishes in the sink. There was one small bed and one uncomfortable chair. Joe put her on his bed. She immediately fell asleep again. He covered her with a blanket. Then he sat in the uncomfortable chair and looked at her. "Who are you?" he whispered, "and what am I going to do with you?" He did not sleep well that night. Part 2, A Wonderful Day. Chapter 3, The Big Surprise. The next morning, Joe woke up with a sore neck. The woman was still sleeping. He wrote a quick note, "Be right back," and went to his office. His boss, Mr. Hennessy, was waiting for him, and he was very, very angry. "Bradley, where were you this morning? You were supposed to go to the princess's press conference." Joe lied. He was good at lying. "I was there. I talked to the princess myself. She's very nice." Mr. Hennessy laughed. It was not a nice laugh. He threw a newspaper onto Joe's desk. "Read that, Bradley." Joe read the headline, "Princess ANN 264 Press Conference." He looked at the photograph next to the headline. His mouth fell open. The photograph showed a young woman with dark hair and big eyes. It was the woman sleeping in his apartment. "Bradley, Bradley, are you listening to me?" But Joe was not listening. His mind was racing. The woman in his apartment was Princess Anne, the most famous princess in Europe, and she was sleeping in his bed. "Mr. Hennessy," Joe said slowly, "what would you pay for a real interview with the princess? A long, personal interview where she tells her real story?" Mr. Hennessy stopped being angry. He looked interested. $5,000, maybe more, but you'll never get it." "I'll try," Joe said. He walked out of the office with a big smile on his face. He ran home as fast as he could. On the way, he stopped at a pay phone. He called his friend Irving. "Irving, it's Joe. I need your help. Bring your camera, the small one, and meet me at my apartment. It's important." Chapter 4: A new friend named Anya. When Joe got home, the princess was awake. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking confused. She had found his note. "Good morning," Joe said with his most charming smile. "How do you feel?" "I feel," the princess stopped. She could not tell him the truth. "I feel fine. Thank you for your help last night. I am very sorry for the trouble. My name is Anya Smith." "Nice to meet you, Anya. I'm Joe Bradley." He offered her coffee. She accepted. While they drank coffee, Joe had an idea. "Would you like to see Rome today? I can show you the city." "I'm a very good guide." The princess wanted to say yes. She wanted to see Rome more than anything. But she was a princess. She could not walk around the city with a strange man. "Thank you, but no," she said politely. "I will see the city by myself." She left the apartment. Joe followed her from a distance. He watched her buy a pair of simple sandals at a street market. He watched her sit at a cafe and drink coffee. He watched her walk up the beautiful Spanish steps. And then he watched her do something amazing. She walked into a small barber shop. 20 minutes later, she came out with short hair. Her long, beautiful hair was gone. Now she looked like a normal girl, a very pretty normal girl. Joe smiled. This was perfect. No one would recognize her now. He walked up to her. "Anya, what a coincidence. Wow, your hair looks great." The princess touched her short hair. She was not sure about it. "Do you really think so?" "I really do. Now how about that tour of Rome?" This time she said yes. Chapter 5: The Best Day. Joe found an old Vespa motorcycle. It was small and noisy. The princess had never ridden on a motorcycle before. In her world, princesses rode in big cars with drivers. "Hold on tight," Joe shouted. They drove through the busy streets of Rome. Cars and trucks and other motorcycles passed them very closely. The princess closed her eyes at first, but then she opened them, and she started to laugh. It was wonderful, the wind in her hair, the sun on her face, the feeling of freedom. She put her arms around Joe and laughed and laughed. They visited the famous Mouth of Truth. It was a big stone face in a wall. People said that if you told a lie with your hand in its mouth, it would bite your hand off. Joe put his hand in the mouth. The princess watched. Suddenly Joe screamed. He pulled his hand back. His hand was gone. The princess screamed too. Her face was white with fear. Then Joe laughed and pulled his hand from his sleeve. His hand was fine. He had played a trick on her. The princess was angry for 1 second. Then she started to laugh too. She could not stop laughing. It was the first time anyone had played a trick on her. In the palace, everyone was always too polite. Joe's friend Irving appeared with his small camera. He took many pictures. The princess did not know that Irving was a photographer. She thought he was just a friend they met on the street. They got in trouble with the police for driving badly, but the police let them go when Joe showed his press card. They ate ice cream at the beautiful Trevi Fountain. They visited the ancient Colosseum. They sat at a small cafe and talked for hours. The princess told Joe about her life. She did not tell him she was a princess, but she told him about her strict teachers and her busy schedule and her lonely days. It sounds like you live in a prison, Joe said. The princess looked at him. Yes, she said quietly, a beautiful prison. As the sun began to set, they sat on a rooftop and looked at the city. Rome was golden in the evening light. I have to leave tomorrow, the princess said. Her voice was sad. This was the best day of my life. Joe looked at her. He felt strange. He liked this girl. He liked her very much, but he was lying to her. He knew who she really was, and he was planning to write a story about her. He did not feel good about that anymore.